been, or the Motsu, which we've been seeing over the past
few as well. But all of these only make sense when they get a good early game. So let's see how this game is going to go.
Yes, absolutely. We are onto the gorge for the first match of the American Regional Finals. We are with STMN versus Influence Rage, the LATAM region against the Brazilian region. So second seed against the first seed. Influence Rage being one of those teams that we know fondly and have a lot of exposure for. But STMN actually playing the underdog here, a little bit of an unknown origin story for themselves.
Yeah, but right off the bat, it looks like both teams are pretty equal at this point. No steals coming in for the jungle camps. And it looks like Avoinen is doing pretty well in terms of like disrupting the flow of the game on the side of Influence Rage.
Yeah, so good so far. We have those supports now going down to the farm lane here. We see the Lungs already pretty low, but Kurumi is also very low, not being able to roll in with that amount of health. And the only downfall of having the Motsu as well is not having that extra access to healing like you would from the Dolia.
Yeah, so, and furthermore, you know, early stages of the game, the Motsu doesn't really do too much. The stuns are great, right? But it's really hard to get the first blood unless you have a perfect setup. So at this point, you can see STMN, they're going to try and make a little bit more disruptions happening in the mid lane first.
Yes, there's that Cannon Blast stunning the Lady Chen, taking a lot of poke from the Hino as well, but Riku having to go all the way back into the safety of that T1. And then we see that Dolia gets hit by another Cannon Blast, and this is the kind of oppression that the oppression rate that a hero like Motsu can really give to your team and just drive away the enemies as well, because not only does it stun you, it actually does quite a bit of damage in this early game.
Yep, Unruly Blade going to be land down, but Raikou might be in danger at this point.
Yes, the level 4 is on the side of Orgrin as well. He is taking a beating from the spiritual modes of the side of Influence Rage, but Dolia getting caught out there. Everybody taking hits from the Orgrin, but nothing actually being committed here. We are seeing two teams that are a little bit afraid to commit to a full team fight or trying to get to that back line. We do see, however, with Def has rotated from the Clash lane, and we know how good this lane can be with a Def on Sunset onto the Lady Chen as well. It's a 3v1 under the T1. He's able to flash out, but is that going to be enough? No, we see that Charlotte goes in. First blood does go over to the side of Influence Rage, but it is Dolia picking up that kill.
Yep, IMF, Influence Rage doing so well for themselves, right? Just hopping on that opportunity presented by their opponents. They overextended, they got the first blood, and all of them make it out safely. So STMN, not the ideal start they're looking for, but for the side of Influence Rage, this is a perfect start.
Yeah, honestly, just looking back at this replay here, that was a very ballsy Death on Sunset for the side of STMN, but it was just all that slow from the Lady Chen, from the Dolia as well. It was just so hard to get out of there, and you can see that he's gone for the flash because a sprint is only going to help you so much, right? Which is what we normally see on the likes of a lane picked within Honor of Kings. So going for the flash was really good, but it just wasn't quite enough to get out of that slow range from the side of Influence Rage as well. But here we go. We could have another rodeo here in the mid lane. We have Raikou at the front on center of this team fight, just trying to clear these minion waves as we have the neutral objective coming up in 2 seconds. I think that's why we're all setting this up for, and we have priority for Influence Rage on the mid lane and in the farm lane, which is going to set up this neutral objective, the Tyrant, for themselves really easy.
Yeah, very nice kiting here by the side of Influence Rage. They will push them away, secure the first Tyrant of the game for themselves. Meanwhile, Sony will give a try. Very hard to happen, right, for that steal, but Sony's just gonna give them a little poke at this point. So evens out the trades in terms of the neutral objectives, but right now, just a 1,000 gold lead for the side of Influence Rage.
Yeah, this is what dreams are made of, right? You got to take those chances. You got to try and out-commit the smite, but it's just obviously playing against an Orgrin under the Overlord and having smite is not going to go quite well for you. T1 looking to make its maker on the side of Influence Rage as well. We have the Hino with the Fate recall as well, but it's not going to be enough. The Fate was sealed at that point, and he's been taken down. Orgrin pretty low, but he's already trying to commit here with doing that, but it is a double kill for Sony as well. Onto the side of Influence Rage, really playing this game 1 against STMN to perfection.
Yep, they took a chance, but they got punished for it. At this point, it was just Influence Rage just running rampant across the map, right? So they take that T1, even though they took it after the fight, the pressure given by this Lung Patroni has been on point, which allowed them to access the jungle. And the fact that Sony, right, so mobile, running all the way from the clash lane down to the bot lane and the farm lane, gets a kill for himself, doing so well, 2-0-2, now standing close to 4,000 gold as we hit that 6-minute mark.
Yes, STMN already being pushed all the way to the T2 in that farm lane, and we're seeing a little bit of this reaction here as well. The replay coming in here, the re-engage from Zing, I feel like, is a little bit of a mistake here, because when you're going against Doom, when you're going against Charlotte as well, it's really hard to try and take those heroes out regardless, even when you are on the best foot into an engage, because of the amount of damage that Dune can soak, and then obviously the HP regen from the Charlotte. Some of these members on the side of STMN may have not already built any sort of anti-regen. We can see the Burning Cape come through on Orgrim, but Orgrim was already pretty low, and then obviously Elaine was a little bit too far from that fight to try and do anything in terms of worth. But again, it's looking like Influence Rage are doing a very great job in this game one, getting a knock-up with the Unbridled Braid. Wow, that was hard to even pronounce for Blam there. Too much coffee for myself, and they still managed to get away.
Yep, it's a tough situation, right? And at this point, Influence Rage, they're going to be more and more daring, because Patroni already has a Master Sword, and they are pretty tanky at this point. It has extended into a 2,000 gold lead. So Influence Rage, right now, it's exactly what they need to be doing, right? Establishing control across the map, stealing camps away from Zing, and this is going to slow down his farm, but, you know, at the same time, allow them to grow that much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you pay attention to the gold lead here, it's not that far between, especially at that 7-minute mark, when we were used to yesterday around about that 4-minute mark. We had 2 to 3k gold difference, and now we're going into the almost 8-minute mark here, and we're already up only about 3k. So it's nothing that I don't think STMN can actually not come back from, but I feel like the macro for the side of STMN just needs to be a little bit better here. We can kind of see from Karubi, trying to take that T2 in the clash lane, but again, it's just been negated here by Charlotte and Dune, sticking together pretty well on the side of Influence Rage.
Yeah, it's tough, right? At this point, Patrol X only not the final form, but he does have the Burning Cape along with the Dark Knight Cape, Dark Knight Radiance, right? So at this point, Raikou, it's already pretty tanky. He's going to get his Long Night Guardian really soon. We're talking about maybe the next 30 to 40 seconds. He just needs to clear maybe one more camp, and he will be. This kill will allow him to do so.
Yeah, avoiding. It was actually caught out there a little bit. It's a lot of damage being taken onto him there. Lady Chen also trying to get that last little bit of damage to try and get another kill onto the side of Influence Rage, but it just wasn't quite enough. Zing trying to take back his Azure Golem buff, but it was unfortunate for him. Influence Rage was able to pick that up. Riku steals the Azure Golem from Zing as well, but the neutral objectives are now back up again. Tyrant looking to go over to the side of Influence Rage once more.
Yeah, Blam, it's a difficult situation, right? I mean, if I'm Raikou, I'm super happy with what's happening now. This is exactly how the game is supposed to go based on the draft. Right now, they have that mega front line. He is so tanky, and all they need to do is to secure farm across the map, right? And this not only stifles the growth, this also opens up doors for potential kills, which slows the team down on the side of ST, and then even more. Here we go.
Yes, a big engage here for the side of Influence Rage, already taking one of the members of STMN down, and then they're looking to take a tier 2 turret as well, but the wave click comes through for STMN. They're able to clearly take that wave, but as we look down to the bottom side of the map in the farm lane, with Def is trying to take that T2 in the farm lane, just trying to get some of those objectives, trying to get some of that lane priority from the side of Influence Rage, because if they don't get those lanes won for themselves, it's going to be a lot harder for them, because they're lacking in the gold, they're lacking in the neutral objectives as well. So they kind of need to make an MO here for the side of STMN, and I feel like playing these side lanes, trying to get these T2s is probably where they can try and take the late game here for themselves, especially with Orgren, especially with Lady Sun as well. But the Death on Sunset just comes through just so he can try and get back onto the side of his team rather than playing from behind his team there, which was probably a good move from with Death.
Yeah, you can see the way Influence Rage, they're trying to influence the movements around the map, right? This is exactly what they need to do, because STMN, they were doing a very good job. They're trying to balance out the farm, and at this point, a lot of potential for a big fight. Whoever wins this next fight is going to have control of the game.
Absolutely. If they do win this and take that T1, we all know how important that T1 turrets are in the mid lane. It opens up so much real estate, even though, I mean, you can't open up much more real estate than that T2 being fall down into the farm lane already here. 1v1 between Withdrawn and Sony, but I don't think anything's going to really commit there. I don't think Withdraw has it within him to take Sony in a 1v1, especially with a level difference as well as a gold difference, as a broad note for both of these teams.
Yeah, so you can see, you know, Influence Rage, they're trying to get STMN out of the safety zone. But STMN does not want to, you know, give them that opening at this point, right? So they will leave out the Overlord at this point, simply because they want to make sure that they have the waves to manage. And if you take a look at the growth of the items, hang on. Simple pokes, yeah, it's just a simple poke at this point. But item-wise, Lady Soon is reaching them up. Eternity Blade soon.
Yeah, I think that little whole interaction there in the mid lane was just a little bit of a tease. They've got to be careful on the side of STMN because that T1 has fallen, so they need to try and retreat into safer grounds here. We can already see with Def already trying to push that T2 into the farm lane, but there we go! What? Okay! Petroni getting a kill onto Kurumi as well, so that's already a kill for the side of Influence Rage, a T2 for Influence Rage as well, and they're currently fighting a 4v2, Orgrim coming from the back as well as with Def. Zing with Def really need to do something here, really need to soak up the damage because they don't have much damage other than the Hino here. Hino just needs to get in, get that poke. It is a 2-1 trade so far for the side of STMN. But now Petroni's back into it. The damage is coming through. He's going to get that double kill here onto Hino. No, it's going to go over to Sony there. But still, overall, 2-2 trade and a higher ground turret for Influence Rage, and they're not done yet. Kid Lung takes down the Motsu, but with Def is finally able to get a kill there. Def on Sunset tries to be the saving grace here for him. Kurumi is the only one left standing between the Charlotte and the Dun, but he's able to take down Charlotte as well. Just no minions to push this crystal, and right now they need to play on the front foot for stamina. They need to do something right now. STMN are struggling at the crystal.
Yep, they escape with this by the skin of their teeth, right? Because at this point, they were so close. If Kurumi died there, the game would have been over. Nonetheless, but I think there is some silver lining on the way that STMN is playing at this point, because they did manage to figure out how they should approach the fight against Influence Rage. If you notice that in that earlier engagement, they did not focus on Raikou, and I think that is the perfect solution, right? Ignore this super soaker, this sponge of a tank. Let's just go for the squishies, right? They wanted to catch out Petroni. The Lao was caught out as well, and more importantly, Cozy could not get the full combination down. So if they can perform that again, I think that could be the winning formula for the side of STMN.
Yeah, there's got to be really lucky into the next team fight, right? That's what we're trying to get at here for those watching at home, is that they just got to try and not focus that Doom pick. Because like Kin said there, it's just so much defense, so much like hell coming through. Oh, what goes through there is the crucial kill theft for STMN. This could be the lifeline for the LATAM North team, the second seed, sorry, of their qualifier, but it's not stopping Influence Rage here. If anything, it's influencing the rage of the team, because they're like, yo, you've stolen our neutral objective. That was our way in. But hey, taking the T2 in the mid lane, they need to start playing a little bit more aggressive here. But STMN do have the Shadow Vanguard.
Yep, they opened up, they forced that opportunity for themselves. Right now, Kurumi needs to stay alive. As long as Kurumi does not get caught, it should be an opening they can expose. They have found and identified the chink in the armor on the side of Influence Rage. Can they capitalize on it? That's the big question here.
Yeah, that complete outsmite there, the crucial kill theft, is really going to be putting STMN back onto Game 1 map here, because before that point, it was looking pretty desperate for them. They've just got to try and not focus the Doom pick here. The Shadow Vanguard has been dropped down into the farm lane. They were able to take the T2 with just the normal Vanguard. So having these pressures into the side lanes really going to make Influence Rage try and a lot harder to force this fight in the mid lane because they have no push of minions in the mid lane. They have no minions in the side lane. They have a lot of pressure in terms of those Vanguards coming through right now. But you can kind of see the STMN have the footing here to try and make a fight go in their favor. But you can see that Riku knows that he is the key to all this, because if he starts running towards them and they have to fight him, he's then going to have to take all those abilities, which he can. They are able to take that T1 as they try and keep Raikou in place in the brush there, so STMN may have the bounce back.
Yep, and if you take a look at it, after the steal, that was a huge gold drop, right? It was a huge gold swing going over to the side of STMN, and at this point, I think they need to be really careful because we're reaching towards that late game. This might be the first Tempest Dragon we're looking at in, what, 48 hours, and this could be a big one.
Yeah. It's funny how we had this discussion earlier, right? That I was like, hey, what's your average game time, kid? And we went through all of this thing, and I was like, I haven't seen a Tempest Dragon since the 18th of August, but we may, after 48 hours, finally get a Tempest Dragon in the Open Series Split 2 here, which is Influence Rage against STMN. But now that they actually have a lot of priority in these lanes, I feel like we're going to get a big fight here. They've got to be careful of Lady Chen. Cozy looking pretty not so cozy right now, taking a lot of damage from that initial team fight.
Right, Blam, I'm just going to lay down on you. Here's my expectations of what's going to happen. At this point, right, with Def, you can see he's always trying to go for the split push, right? At this point, he does have, I think he's fully itemized, already 6/6 slotted, so he does have magic resist. He does have the blood rage for the extra health and damage as well. So he's going to try and split the waves up, try to get that split push going. And at the same time, STMN, all they have to do now is to be able to hold off or capture the attention of Influence Rage. But Influence Rage, you know, with the Unruly Blade, if you get the perfect initiation, it could spell death.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to catch the attention of something that has the name Rage in it, right? All they're going to be seeing right now is red, and they want as little red on that board as possible in terms of health bars. But we see the Cannon Blast coming through, trying to deny the engage here from Raikou, which could be huge. But what is huge is that damage from Petroni onto Kurumi, which is already taken down. One of the damage outputs on the side of STMN right now. So all they have remaining for the side of STMN is that Hino. So they've really got to play this very well. Hino there with a Faithful Recall, just trying to keep that high ground turret safe, but there is minions, there is everybody on the side of Influence Rage, bar Sony going into the top lane looking for a split push mechanic here. There is currently a 1-0 trade. It's still only Lady Sun that has gone down. This is a very prolonged team fight, but this is the kind of team fights that STMN have got to try and make the most of.
Yep, it's really unfortunate, right? Kurumi, I think at this point needs to watch his positioning because he has been caught out multiple times already. And all it takes is just one simple combination from Petroni to get that kill. So at this point, they need to look for something else. But on the side of Influence Rage, perfect. This is a perfect game for them at this point. Splendor already in the hands of Cozy, so he can go a little bit more aggressive. At the same time, with the passive on the Ocean of Tears, you could see that potential outplay, right? So STMN, the game is not over yet, but they're struggling. They need to see what other forms of entry can they gather to try and win this team fight against Influence Rage.
I mean, over the next minute or so, they've really just got to try and counter the engage that they're going to have with these Vanguards, right? Because now that the Shadow Vanguard's here as well, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to clear them out. They are pretty much super soaked minions in the form of Vanguard Dragon type things that you don't want to be seeing when all your high ground turrets, bar your mid lane, is gone. And then once that's gone, if that Vanguard is at your crystal, it's going to be super hard for you to try and get it away. And then all you need to do is have a solid means of into the enemy team and then try and take a few of their bodies down. And then we could see the end here of game one right now, kid. We see Influence Rage already at the door. Raikou has the Sage's Sanctuary as well, so that means he has double lifeline, but there is damage going left, right, and center. We see Elaine is absolutely slashing at nothing there. Petroni gets the first kill in the entire of the engage with death. Is on the wrong side of the fence, but Cozy, Villo go down as well. Petroni is on that second wind, now is dead. This is STMN fighting on their back foot. They need to take this Vanguard out. They need to just completely clear these waves and try and take this Tempest Dragon. This is all they've got, right?
Yep, Influence Rage, they knock them down, but they just can't knock them out. STMN, what a big defense at that point, right? And I think at this point, most people on both sides, they're already fully itemized, 6 slotted, with the exception of maybe the supports. So Vilao 1 doesn't have that, but at this point, STMN, they see an opening. They want to try and go for this Tempest Dragon. At the same time, you can see with that, he makes the split push, he's making his way down. This could be a big moment for STMN.
Yeah, I mean, Raiku's still got the Sage's Sanctuary, right? So he still has that, the ballsy moments that he can have. He can still get in there, but Orkun's there back into the Tempest camp. No, he has the Smite. Is he going to be able to get it? Yes! STMN are able to get the Tempest Dragon, but are they going to be able to get this last team fight? Because you can guarantee that this will be the last team fight within this game one. At least we hope so, right? 20 minutes in, With Death takes down Raikou finally, which seems like the unkillable giant, which was Dune himself. They are down 2 members, resurrecting. With Death is now coming through with a split push into the farm lane where we have Orgrin and Hino looking to meet with the Tempest Vanguard in that mid lane. They need to do something here for Influence Rage. They only have Cozy, Petroni, and Villo left. There is not a lot of tankiness, but there is a lot of damage here, Ken.
Yeah, they were crawling and clawing their way back. Finally, the door has been opened. STMN, they end the game here?
Hopefully so here for themselves, because it's been a hard-fought victory for them. Defeat goes over to Cozy. This looks like it. The Crystal just needs some minions there on the side of STMN. They need their sidemen with them at the Crystal so they can try and do some damage to it. But it is Cozy going down. Sony is back in 4 seconds, but it is STMN.